People of Reddit, what was the highest waste of money that you don't regret? Just shy of $20,000 to go to Antarctica traveling solo, small cruise ship. More than I've spent on every other vacation I've taken combined. Was one of the best trips of my life. It also gave me enough space and clarity to realize how toxic my ex was to me so that I could find the strength to leave not long after I got back. I'll always want to go back to Antarctica. The inner peace I found there changed my life. I'm scheduled for this, virus swilling, in November/December this year. I cannot wait. I may be getting a science degree this year, and some colleague told me that I could apply for an Antarctica internship, and now I'm really looking forward to it. So, if possible, would really appreciate some details, or something amazing unmissable thing to do there. Working there is a whole different experience unless you're there as a nature guide for the cruise ships. All of ours were either PhDs in something related or they were photography instructors. If you're going with a cruise line, just do everything that's offered. Every single cruise down there is unique because they move around the peninsula based on weather conditions. For those thinking of going there, please if you can afford to go there and you really want to go, make sure to at least avoid wearing/bringing clothes/bags made from polyester fabric, one of the most common fabric. It sheds microplastic which harms the ecosystem, among other things. Here's a recent research article on how they found microplastics mostly from polyester from a place as isolated as Mount Everest. Sorry for being extra, but I'm going to tag the ones who indicated in the current replies to this. If you're interested to know more, feel free to ask more. I can honestly go on and on about this, but I'm afraid it may discourage people to read this. This old lady that used to be a friend of my mom's took my brother to Alaska, and many other places. I always wondered if he was zucking her, honestly. You should do an AMA. $20K? No offense, but unless they gave you your own island for 6 months, you got violated, and not in the good way. You are welcome to think so. With as much of a positive of an impact as that trip has had on my life, in hindsight it still would have been worth it to pay double. Even though the price is steep, it serves a good purpose. Only people that really want to go will go there. No unnecessary traffic of tourists that would ruin the most untouched continent. I hope to go there someday. Only have to get the $20K somehow. $600 on a cat shitter, but my house never smells. I don't have to scoop litter, and I only have to empty the drawer once a week. Definitely worth it to me. We just got one this year. I have 4 cats, 1 leg and a bad back, so bending over to scoop is not comfortable. I love that litter box. Clicked on the comments because I was wondering how it would work for multiple cats, and here you were? I've got 4 cats as well. It's seriously worth it? I figured it would get messy quick. I have to switch out the bags a couple times a week, but it's still so much easier. And there's less litter wasted too. Ah, thank you. I will definitely check it out. I bought mine 2 years ago. I haven't changed litter since. 3 cats. No problems. That is pretty cool. And a bit less than $600. You don't ever have to take it apart and clean it? Nope, never. There are cleaning cartridges that you're supposed to use every 2 to 3 months. When I bought mine, it was like $300. It's legitimately amazing. 10 minutes after the cat leaves, it automatically starts the clean cycle. You can set it up to run a certain number of times per day or whatever, but I think cat sensing is the best. Wait a second. I had a self-cleaning litter box like 18 years, and if it scooped after a fresh shit would get stuck on the claws and it would smear, and oh my god, do you not have that issue with the one you have? No. The bottom bowl turns and guides the poop onto a scoop, which then lifts it and deposits it in a maceration chamber, where it's broken down and flushed. The granules are washed, rinsed, and dried. I spent $3,000 for my wife to meet the Backstreet Boys and get front row seats. It is the best thing that has ever happened to her, and the smile on her face after the show and look of pure bliss in someone who suffers often from anxiety was worth every cent. I didn't spend quite that much, but I gave my wife a similar experience with 98 last year. Front row seats, meet and greet backstage, full VIP access at a club post-show. The look on her face is still really vivid in my mind. The extra I pay in rent for a water view. Completely worth it. I understand. I can spend an afternoon just sitting on my balcony looking at the river and the trees moving with the wind. Dining at a Michelin-starred restaurant in Milan. We had an 18-course meal with wine pairings for like $400 or so. Edit, for those asking, the restaurant is Gioia. It's vegetarian, but it looks like it still exists and isn't much more expensive than when I was there 10 years ago. I used to scoff at spending that sort of money on meals, Got convinced to try it one time, and loved it. Now, every couple years we try to find something big like that to do. It really is amazing what top-tier chefs can do to food. We did a takeaway 2-star Michelin dinner for Nice since we live in Paris and everything is closed due to COVID. It's been on our bucket list since many of the Michelin restaurants are doing this, and they had a special menu for New Year's and Christmas. It was amazing, close to $300 for both of us, but we had a gift card/Christmas bonus and the food was truly incredible. We even got a personalized menu with all of the instructions on how to reheat each course, totally worth it. $400 per person or total? Total sounds like a deal. Per person still sounds pretty good. I spent too much money on a big treadmill for a very small apartment. But I've ran 15 to 25 kilometers on it every week for the past several years and it's been incredibly helpful both physically and mentally. Your downstairs neighbor's mental health is swiftly deteriorating. Artwork. Can I always afford it? No. But my walls are full of original, 90% local art. They make me happy to look at. I'm sure I made the artist happy too. Board games, they are expensive, but they bring much joy. When my mom was diagnosed with cancer, a year after my dad died unexpectedly, from cancer, I went to the animal aid thrift shop, bought a bunch of odd dishes, put down a drop cloth, and threw them at my house while screaming bloody murder. I don't regret 1 second of that temper tantrum or one dime I spent to make it happen. I eventually made a couple of beautiful mosaics out of the pieces. And my mom is 6 months cancer-free. Holy crap y'all, thanks. I'm going to do my level best to respond everyone tomorrow. I just assumed this would get buried. Reddit is kind of where I get out some of my sad so I can be there for my family. I legit have no idea what to do with awards. Throw your money at pancreatic cancer research for my dad maybe? And yeah, I'm sure it's been in lots of movies. I cribbed the idea of breaking stuff from my favorite professors talking about breaking windows in an abandoned church after a house fire. Also, if my husband and sister have figured out who I am from this, hi? Nobody was actually supposed to read it? I feel like I should qualify that the one I made is beautiful to me lol. This is like a movie scene. This painted a fantastic mental picture. Travel. I've never regretted spending money on travel. Those are some of my favorite memories. I can't wait to be able to travel again. Same. I spent money I didn't have taking trips in college and blown what should have been my savings as an adult. 13 countries down, don't regret a single one. My only regrets are the trips I didn't take. A good buddy invited me on a trip to Africa to, among other things, climb Kilimanjaro. I declined BC, my budget was tight. He wound up passing unexpectedly a year or two later and I still regret not experiencing that with him. Another regret is the beginning of 2020 when my wife went to Guatemala and El Salvador for work. Originally I was planning to go down and meet her for a long weekend, but I didn't because I wanted to save up for a trip later in spring. Then COVID hit the world. Now I'm wishing I took that trip when I had the chance. Dyson blow dryer. It's worth every penny. I have long hair down to my waist. It only takes me about 3 minutes to dry it. I bought my own tuxedo. It's $1,000 to $1,200 minimum by the time you get good shoes, shirt, bow tie, etc. for it. I hardly wear it, but goddamn do I look good in it compared to a rental. I also spent $20 on a mustard yellow hat that has Big Cheese written in red stitching on it. Only bust it out for the really big occasions. Apparently you can buy these at a Murray's Cheese shop in some Kroger markets. There is also a link in a comment below to buy online. Also, just the feeling of having a tuxedo. If an imaginary big event pops up, you're always ready to be the best dressed guy around. You only wear the hat with the tuxedo though, right? Exactly 1 year ago I got my private pilot license. So much money went into it, and now it costs a lot of money to keep it, by flying. I don't regret it at all, very cool feeling to go flying. To have an excuse to fly, my friend and I started posting flying stuff on YouTube so that we can laugh at ourselves. Can you not take passengers to cover the costs? Okay, I have enough answers now, you can stop telling me the same thing with different credentials applied. $300 hand-sewn Starfleet jacket. Went to a con with a seamstress and had her inspect the jacket. Her verification that it was quality work was the deciding factor. Spent like 30 minutes on the phone with the bank trying to prove this was me throwing away $300 in one go at a con 3 hours from my address.
Back in high school I was about to go on my first ever date and I made extra money to make sure I had enough, around $600 I had. The day before our date she gave me a letter and she basically broke up with me. Being a teenager, I had no control over my emotions, as being brought up in my family would say guys shouldn't cry over anything, but I had no way to process it. So after school I went to 7-Eleven, bought 2 large Slurpees, 6 hot dogs, and got a prepaid card and bought a bunch of NECA action figures. I actually had a good weekend because I honestly splurged on that money and got into action figure collecting as well, practiced stop motion, which ended up helping me to pursue an animation career, and I'm about to finish and ready to apply to stop motion studios. Wow, I've just got back on after calling it a day from work. Thank you so much for the golden support. Now let me answer some questions. The reason $600 was the date money is because my brother and best friend recommended me to take extra date cash in case she wanted to do extra stuff or to cover stuff instead of having to wash dishes or say no. I was able to get the cash because at work I do small jobs or help people out with heavy lifting. Me and the ex were doing stuff together, like I would walk her home from school, get her coffee before school began, and hang out on campus, and she did hide her relationship from her parents, but after the breakup I did see who she was as a person, and very toxic. I am in my last classes before I graduate, and I decided my senior film will be stop motion, which is a daunting task, but I have prepared myself and got everything ready. As living in LA, I have lots of studios to intern/apply, and I am working on a portfolio of sorts to show off my skills in stop motion and special effects on Adobe After Effects. To finish it off, I was going to courses for 3D animation and 2D as well, but kinda sucked on them until I took a course in experimental, and one of the assignments was to do a special animation called replacement animation, and I decided to use some action figures, and in it I did some stop motion, which my professor picked up and praised for the poses frame by frame, saying it's impressive that I got the movement down. The only draw right now is that intern positions are halted because of COVID, and my fellow classmates are also disappointed that the internship spots at some studios they want to work for are halting or limiting internships, so it's hard right now, but for me it's giving me time to do more stop motion work, trying to perfect it and trying out new methods or techniques. I bought the $350 Lego Ghostbusters Firehouse 5 years ago. I was a huge Lego kid in the 1980s and loved Ghostbusters. When they announced the set, I told my wife that I was buying it. Ridiculous expense be damned. It is set up in my home office and will never come down. Yes, it is dusty. We just had work done that made a mess.
They have a huge Ecto 1 now. Would make a nice companion piece. All yours for the low price of $199.99. The Ecto 1 set is also outstanding. I think I spent around $1,000 on gifts over the last holiday season, including Secret Santa stuff on Imgur. Last year I got a really well-paying job, and I'm finally glad to be able to give back to people.